Thank you. It's really great to be here. I remember, it seems like yesterday, when I was sitting in your chair. I had gone to West Point, graduated in 1975. I was an infantryman, airborne school, ranger school, jungle warfare school, Arctic warfare school, desert warfare school. All that prepared me to work at Procter & Gamble. No, actually it prepared me for the 82nd Airborne Division, 1st of the 504th Airborne Infantry. During that time, I got an MBA at night and on the weekends from the University of Utah. I never went to the school, actually. Like probably some of you, I was in a program that the Air Force had with the university where they would fly the professors out during the week and we would go to class and then they would fly them back on the weekend. And, after the weekend was over. And finished the MBA in 1978 and then left the military service in 1980 and joined Procter & Gamble. I interviewed with about 30 or 40 companies, as I recall, many times in conferences like this, and I wrote probably to 100 companies or so. I was an engineer with my undergraduate degree, and I had an MBA, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And coming from the military, I wasn't really that familiar with business, so I have a lot of empathy for what you're going through, and if I can be of any help, or any other Procter & Gamble people in the room who are all veterans can have any help, please let us know. But thank you very much for your service. I thought I would talk about a topic that's incredibly important to business right now, because this topic will serve you well, no matter what business you go to. And it's really the role of innovation and why innovation matters. In a slow growth economy like we're in today around the world, innovation really, really does matter. And I thought you would find this of interest. A little bit about the Procter & Gamble Company. We're celebrating our 175th birthday this month, so we're 175 years old. We do about $84 billion a year in sales all over the world. We are in about 180 countries all over the world. My career has taken me from Cincinnati, Ohio, our corporate headquarters, to Toronto, Canada, from Toronto, Canada to Manila in the Philippines, from the Philippines to Kobe, Japan, from Kobe, Japan to Brussels, Belgium, from Brussels, Belgium back to Cincinnati, Ohio. Ironically, in 1980, when I joined the company, I joined so that I could live and work in one city my whole life and never have to deploy like I did in the military. But I didn't predict globalization. At the time I joined the company, 35% of our business was outside the United States. Today, over 60% of our business is outside the United States. So we're in 180 countries around the world. On any given day, 4.6 billion people in the world use at least one Procter & Gamble product. So I'd like to get to all 7 billion people on the planet, but we're not there yet. Right now we're at 4.6 billion. And we have 25 brands, many of which are pictured on this slide, which do $1 billion or more in sales every given year. And these brands comprise a large part of the company's sales and the company profit. We have a proven business model that we follow. It's a very pretty simplistic model, but it guarantees our success. We go into people's homes, we watch them use our products, we talk to them. From that, we try to get insights that will help us create noticeably superior products. And then we spend about $2 billion a year on research and development. We spend about $500 million a year on consumer research. From that, we try to develop products that are noticeably superior to their competition. So we have thousands of scientists, PhDs all over the world who participate in this. We then create advertising, whether it's digital or at home or out of home and on billboards, TV advertising, that shows the difference, the superiority of our product versus the competitive set. We price the product to be a good value to the consumers who buy it. We then create massive awareness, engagement, and demand creation. And from that, then we make sure we produce the product of high quality, and it becomes a virtuous cycle where we keep reinventing the products over time. That's the proven business model. When we do it well, we win. When we don't do it as well, our business isn't as strong. And the point I want to talk about today is innovation, which is one of these steps in the model. Why innovation matters? It's very simple. Two key reasons. Number one, it's the key to improving life. And number two, it's the primary driver of our growth. And I would venture to say any company you join, innovation will be the primary driver of their growth. Any company. Because companies that don't innovate simply don't survive. There's a wonderful book written by a fellow named Matt Ridley called The Rational Optimist. In this book, Matt Ridley talks about that the biggest problems of the world have always been solved by innovation. And that's why Matt's a rational optimist, is he believes that the problems that we face today, whether it's global warming or any other problem, that we can solve it through innovation. And he uses as an example a story from the United Kingdom back in the 1850s, where the United Kingdom citizens, the British citizens, were concerned that someday they would all die under a heap of horse manure. And the reason that they were fearful of this, the mounding and the growing mounds of horse manure, was that so many horses were needed for transportation. And of course, none of them expected the innovation or invention of the automobile. So that's why he's a rational optimist, and I tend to share his optimism. So key to improving life, primary driver of growth of any of our companies. From our experience, there are three lessons I'd like to share with you about innovation. The first is, how do you inspire it? And that's critically important. As you become an employee or a leader in any company you join, you have to find ways to inspire innovation in others as well as yourself. How do you define it? And that goes a long way to making sure you get it and why it matters. And then third, how do you deliver it? And I'm going to cover each of these briefly in turn. First, how do you inspire it? For Procter & Gamble, it's relatively simple to inspire it. The purpose of our company is to touch and improve the lives of the world's consumers. Well, we don't cure cancer, but our products make a difference in people's lives. We're getting to 4.6 billion people every day on the planet. We create superior products in order to improve their lives. The primary way we do that, the how, is through innovation. That's why we spend so much on R&D. That's why we spend so much on consumer research. And you can see that not only do we want to touch and improve lives, but we want to do it now and for generations to come. And now and for generations to come mean we have to do it in a way that takes care of the environment, that improves the environment. So sustainability is a big part of everything that we do. I want to share a story with you as an example. This is a story about a product called Gillette Guard. It's a very low-cost razor and blade system. We own the Gillette business. About half a billion men in India shave with what's called a double-edged blade. It's the old blade your great-great-grandfather would have used. It has two sides in it, and you put it in a razor. 50% of men in India get shaved in a barber shop. Now, it's not a barber shop the way you or I would know a barber shop. This is out on the street corners of Delhi or Calcutta, and they shave 5 or 6 people with the same blade. Obviously, not something you would want to do. But we wanted to come up with a new product, a new innovation that would solve these men's problem, and this is a story about it. Please watch.
You've got it completely wrong, they said. You've got to go to India to really understand what the consumer's needs are. And they're absolutely right. There's 500 million Indian men still shaving with the old-fashioned double-edged razor. We needed to design a razor specifically for them. We have the privilege of being invited into the consumers' homes. They live in very small houses, often with just 2 rooms, no furniture. So we often had to sit on the floor where we're doing the interviewing. They would have to go out into the street, to the taps, to fill up a small cup of water to bring back to their kitchen. And we watched the young men doing their routine shaving. But what came across to me very strongly, there's a high sense of dignity. They wouldn't give up their shaving. This made them look and feel their best. Of course, coming back, we're fully charged with enthusiasm and motivation and what we could do. So we started producing the sketches on the aeroplane. This is the razor that we produced. It's called Gillette Guard. It's a very simple design. The cartridge itself has only 3 pieces. It's got a housing, a blade, and a support. And it's made totally in India. I realised that these men had been suffering with the old razor because we hadn't provided them with a better product. Touching lives, improving life is a two-way experience because it's not just about improving the lives of the consumers. It had a huge impact on our lives as well. I'm Graham Sims. I've been working for Gillette for 21 years.
So the purpose inspires innovation. The next point is defining innovation. How do you define it? And most of the companies all of you will join will define innovation broadly. At Procter & Gamble, we define innovation broadly. We think innovation is everyone's job. All 126,000 employees around the world need to work to innovate in whatever they do. We also define it holistically, where it's about getting consumer insights. It's about innovating in the product. It's about innovating in the package graphics and the design of the package. It's about innovating in the marketing. It's about innovating in the way we go to market, the way we get our products in stores. And it's about innovating in the supply chain, the way we make the product, where we buy the materials, how we get the product to the store. So it's holistic. It's defined broadly because it's so critical to the success of the business. This is a map of the products that Procter & Gamble sells and how they develop. We started as a partnership of 2 people, Gamble and Procter. They married sisters, and it was their father-in-law who suggested they get together. One made candles and one made soap, and those 2 products use the same raw materials and have the same byproducts. It's from that, from the soap and the candles, that the rest of our products were developed over 175 years. And there's connections between these products. For example, we know a lot about bleach and laundry detergents. And from that knowledge of bleach, we were able to develop Crest white strips so you can whiten your teeth. And from that knowledge of bleach, we were able to develop Clairol hair color so you can color your hair. So a knowledge in one technology leads to many different brands and ends up creating this product connection map from our origin, which is soap and candles. We also work externally to try to come up with innovation. In other words, we have thousands of PhD scientists within P&G, but we're also connected externally because we believe that we should get at least half of our ideas from outside the company. And we work hard. We've set a goal of getting $3 billion in incremental sales every year from ideas that come from outside the company. We want anybody who comes up with an idea anywhere in the world to bring it to us first so that we can innovate it with them. So we work very hard in this program we call Connect and Develop to connect with universities and scientists all over the world, as well as ad agencies and other people who can help us innovate on our business. Who's responsible? As I said, everybody's responsible. You know, innovation is critically important for every employee in the company. And I venture to say, whatever company you join, you will be expected to innovate in whatever role you take on. Because every company needs innovation in order to grow their business, particularly in this slow growth global economy that we face today. And delivering innovation is obviously everyone's job as well. So we want to inspire innovation, define innovation, and deliver innovation in everything that we do. There are different kinds of innovation that we talk about. One is what we call disruptive market innovation. This is when we create new categories or new brands, like we invented the category that Swiffer's in, the quick clean category. We have a technology called cyclodextrin that we were able to put in Febreze, which captures malodors and evaporates them from the room. And of course, as I said earlier, we invented Crest white strips. There's another kind of technology called transformational sustaining innovation. This is taking a category that already exists, like laundry detergent, and inventing a new form, like Tide Pods. I hope you've seen our new Tide Pods, which is off to a roaring start. Or on Pampers, we came up with a new technology called DryMax, where you can make the diaper 20% thinner, but yet it keeps the baby dry for over 12 hours. This is another example of a transforming, sustaining innovation. And then there's just the regular sustaining growth innovations, the innovations we do each year or so on every product to make them even better for all of you who are consumers of our products. Right now on Duracell, we have a guarantee of over a year of shelf life. So you can buy the batteries, store them at home, and when you take them out to use them, even if it's a year from now, through this Duralock technology, the battery will still be fully charged. So innovation becomes critically important in everything we do. It's really important, too, also in our commercial innovation. Any of you who are interested in joining marketing, you have to be innovative as well. You may have seen some of our advertising around the Olympics. We were a global Olympics sponsor, and we use the Olympics as an innovative way to market in order to sell more product. We had 34 brands involved in the Olympics from every country in the world. We had over 150 athletes representing all those countries. And on any given day, we had 4 million stores around the world with displays of Procter & Gamble product during the London Olympics. Our goal was to develop $500 million in incremental sales behind the Olympics. This is a classic case of a commercial innovation. Here is a picture of some of the displays. The one on the far right, the upper right, is in Moscow. And believe it or not, you can see the cars on the highway. That's all stacked up Procter & Gamble product. And believe it or not, they sold through all that during the Olympics. We also had some terrific brand advertising. We used athletes. For example, we had swimmers that would talk about how the chlorine in the water damaged their hair, but by using Pantene, they were able to return the health to their hair. As an example, you can see some of the athletes that supported our brands, including Michael Phelps, who supported Head & Shoulders. We also created a family home. You may not know this, but when a family goes to the Olympics, they are not allowed to go into the Olympic Village to see their child who's an Olympic athlete. So they have trouble finding places to meet their Olympic child. So we created a home which would help the parents be with their children. In that home, we had various rooms where the families could enjoy each other and also enjoy Procter & Gamble products. Also, many of the families were unable to get tickets to the Olympics. Believe it or not, if your child performs in the Olympics, you do not automatically get a ticket. So we used our tickets as a sponsor for the families to be able to go to the games. And then we provided escorts to actually bring the families to the games, and we paid for their travel. And so it was great to see so many people from so many countries come together in our home. We used it as an opportunity to thank mothers for what they do. Please watch this.
P&G, proud sponsor of Moms.
Moms are the unsung heroes of the Olympics. Moms and dads. Moms and dads sacrifice so their children can become Olympic athletes. And what we wanted to do was care for them in the right way as their athletic children helped us sell more Procter & Gamble products. So those are the 3 lessons on innovation. 1, find a way to inspire it. We do that with our purpose. Number 2, find a way to define it. We do that through our holistic model. And number 3, deliver it. And if you're in marketing, coming up with the idea to use the Olympics as a way to market our brands is a very innovative thing to do. And the greatest thing about our company is anybody in the company can come up with these innovative ideas. Everyone's expected to in order to grow the business and touch and improve more lives. If you're at all interested in Procter & Gamble, please visit our website, usexperiencepg.com, or engage with Procter & Gamble Talent Supply at Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or LinkedIn, or visit Matt and their team here, and we look forward to talking to you. I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have about Procter & Gamble or my career or the transition from the military to business. Any questions or comments?
So, in the military, your career progression, career development is very regimented. So you have, time in rank, time in service, certain schools you have to go to. How do you successfully transition to the private sector where it's not quite as structured?
Yeah, that's a great point. That was one of the reasons, frankly, I left the military service. Before I completed the MBA, I did the Infantry Officer Advanced course by correspondence. And so I went to Branch, Milperson at the Pentagon, and I said, I finished the Infantry Officer Advanced course by correspondence. I'd love to go to the Marine Corps Advanced course. And they said, well, we've never done that before. And I said, I know, that's why I'm here. I'm here to tell you this is what I want to do. And I said, but whatever you do not send me to the Armor Advanced course. I do not want to go to Fort Knox. I do not want to spend my life in the motor pool. Because when I had done my, we called it AOT, Army Orientation Training. Now at West Point they call it, I think, CTLT, Cadet Summer Leadership Training. I had a tank platoon in Germany and 5 M60 tanks. They were all cannibalized because the parts were sent to Vietnam. And I hated the idea that I'd gone through all this engineering education to be a grease monkey in a motor pool. So a few months from that visit, I got orders to the Armor Advanced course. Why? I called the guy up. I said, wait, what happened? I said, I told you I want to go to the Marine Corps Advanced course. He said, well, I told you, we don't know how to do that. And I said, well, it's easy. You walk across the other side of the Pentagon and you say that, no. I said, but I told you I didn't want to go to armor. He said, well, we had slots for armor. So it's different. In business, you want to do everything you can to develop the people that work within your company. In our company, we promote from within. We don't hire people at senior levels. So we're here to hire you. You come join our company. There is no way that we can hire somebody over you. We have to grow people within the company because of this policy. As a result of that, your boss has to make sure you're ready to be promoted before you can be promoted. And there's no time limit. We don't do it based on time, we do it based on performance. And performance is the only thing that counts. So a lot of times when I joined the company, people said to me, well, are you sure you want to join P&G because they only promote from within, you start on the bottom. And I was 27 years old at the time, and I said, well, it really doesn't matter because the company promotes based on your readiness and your performance, not based on longevity or seniority. And so I think you're going to find that business is energizing and inspiring in the sense that you move along as fast as you want to and as fast as you're able. That's a great question, though. Other questions, comments? Yes, please, ma'am.
Good morning, sir. My name is Christine Bassett, and I'm from University of Southern California. My question is, what would you say is the number one skill that we have that we can communicate to companies to leverage our talent?
That's easy, Christine. It's leadership. The thing that the military service does, like no other employer anywhere in the world, is to give you immediate responsibility in leadership, particularly as an officer. Because I'll never forget, as an officer, I walked into my first unit and I had a staff sergeant who was my platoon leader, who had had 2 tours in Vietnam, and I was a second lieutenant butter bar, and I had 20 soldiers. And you're responsible for their lives. In those days, we had no rooms. We had bays. Everybody lived in a bay. And I would wake them up in the morning, and I'd put them in bed at night. I would take them to their creditors to pay their bills. It's leadership. And so what you need to think about as you think through your resume is, how do you talk to somebody who has no experience in the military about the kind of leadership experience that you've had? And it's very simple. You've been in charge of people's lives. But then you need to explain all the jargon, all the military jargon, so they can understand that. So think about how you want to articulate your leadership experience, and spend some time thinking about it. Think about yourself. I went through marketing at P&G. Think about yourself as a brand. Each one of you is a brand, right? And just like Tide laundry detergent is a brand, and Tide is the best laundry detergent you can buy, and Tide helps mothers solve laundry problems, think about yourself as a brand. What is your brand equity? In other words, what's the one or two sentences that describe you and what you can bring to that company? And then how does that come from the leadership experiences that you've had in the military? And importantly, know how to tell stories. One of the best books on leadership is a book written by Noel Tichy, University of Michigan, called The Leadership Engine. And what he says is, leadership is telling stories. And shouldn't we be more deliberate about the stories of our lives, so that because we're always telling stories to the people who work for us. Think about your military experience. I'm sure you spent time telling a lot of stories. Well, when you talk to a recruiter today, they're going to want to know what those stories are. So if you think of your equity as leadership, then what are those stories that reinforce the point that you want to tell about your leadership? What are the stories? I can think of many of them from my own career, and I'm sure many of you can too. So I hope that was helpful, Christine.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is Bob Mayo from Georgetown.
Hi, Bob.
As a leader of one of the most successful companies in the universe, in the world,
That's okay.
I appreciate it. I'm just making sure everyone is awake, okay?
Yeah. You got their attention. We have a big business on Mars.
I'm just curious to know, what eats up the most time of your day as CEO?
What do I spend most of my time on?
Yeah.
It's a good question. I travel about 7 out of 10 days. I'm here with you this morning. This afternoon I'm going to the University of Illinois to do some recruiting there, and also to check up on some research projects we have going there. Sunday I leave for Moscow. I'm on President Putin's Foreign Investment Advisory Council, so I have a meeting with him on Monday. So I'm usually on the road. And when I go on the road, I usually have town hall meetings of employees, just like we're doing here, just like you would in the military. But if I think about time allocation, I probably spend 35% of my time on leadership development, on succession planning, on getting the right, Jim Collins, another great leadership book, Jim Collins, Built to Last, Good to Great, 2 books. He talks about getting the right people on the bus, getting them in the right seats on the bus. Unlike the military, you can put anybody into a job you want. I mean, it's not like they're sent to you from the Pentagon. This is your choice as a leader. And as a leader, you sure as heck better put the right person in the right job if you want to succeed as a company. So we spend a lot of time on that. What we try to do is help you identify what your strengths are, and then put you in a job that takes advantage of your strengths. What we don't want to do is identify where your opportunities for improvement are and put you in a job where you do that all day. So that's where I spend the bulk of my time. Yes, sir.
Hi, Zvi Landsberg, Columbia Business School.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your first name.
Zvi.
Zvi,
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm Bob.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I really want to hear how you were able to differentiate yourself throughout your career. How did you get to where you got? I'm sure there's a lot of talented people that started in the same spot that you did. What kind of things you did? And you said you started in marketing. And they always tell you you already want to do the job that you want to do now, the job that you already want to get the next step. So if you could talk about how you progressed and what the steps you're taking.
Yeah. I joined the company in marketing, but I honestly believe that it wasn't my marketing prowess that has led to my advancement. I think what's led to my advancement is the focus on purpose, working hard to touch and improve lives, and the congruency between the purpose of the company and my personal purpose. I've always gotten my kicks in life out of helping others, and this is a job, this is a stage, $84 billion company, where I can do that on a big scale. So try to find a job, a company, that is congruent with your own purpose, right? And if you don't know what your purpose is, please figure it out before you interview, right? Because hopefully you're going to find a career that's consistent with your own purpose. Number two is values. I was looking for a company with a purpose that was congruent with my own, with a company that had strong values. The Procter & Gamble company has been a company that has had strong values throughout its history: integrity, ownership, passion for winning, trust. These are incredibly strong values within the company. The people live them every day. That was important to me. It was important to me to find a company with a purpose, with values, and with people who live them. And then I hearken back to there's a part of the West Point cadet prayer that has always stuck with me throughout my career. It's called "Choose the harder right rather than the easier wrong." And this was a company that I joined that I found throughout its history had always chosen the harder right rather than the easier wrong. And I felt comfort working in that company. And then I never worried about advancement. I just worried about doing the right thing. Because you can spend all your time worrying about advancement and make the wrong decision. We have something in our company called open job posting, where any job that's open in the company we put on a website and you can apply for that job. And I always tell people within the company, be careful what assignments you choose, because you could be wrong. Because you choose it, we'll give it to you, but you could be wrong. I always trusted in my management. I'd work hard, I'd try to do the best I could, and they'd give me a harder job. And I always trusted in that way. But purpose, values, those things are incredibly important. I hope that's at least partially helpful. If any of you are interested, I developed. I have for the last 25 years or so, I have developed a list of my 10 leadership beliefs. And I've done talks. I did a talk here 2 years ago on that, and I would be happy to share that with you. It's on our Procter & Gamble website, and if you go to there it is. If you go to executives, and then you click on my name, you'll see the listing of my 10 leadership beliefs, the books that contributed to them, and an actual video of me giving a talk about it. And the reason I share this with you is the purpose of the talk is to get you to think about your own purpose, get you to think about your own leadership beliefs. Just like we were talking about, what's your equity? What are you going to tell these recruiters that you're going to talk to? Do you know what your leadership beliefs are, and are they informed by the experiences that you've had in your life? Because that will be critical when you get to interview. That's what you've got to communicate. Other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Good morning. I'm Steve Bodie from the Indiana University Kelley School of Business.
Hi, Steve.
Hi. You mentioned that you serve 4.6 billion customers throughout the world, and I'm wondering how P&G is going to innovate and change so you can get to that 7 billion number.
Yeah, it's a great question, Steve. There's been a lot of work done on the bottom of the economic pyramid, and we've participated with a lot of the people who have done it. It's really interesting. What you'll find is that innovating for people on the bottom of the economic pyramid is not taking the top tier products and diluting them. Many companies do that. Many companies will take a top tier product and just dilute it for people on the bottom of the pyramid, but that doesn't work. What we have to do is it works, but you're not improving their life. What you have to do is go in and watch how they live and then try to figure something else out. I'll give you an example. I lived in the Philippines for 4 years, from 1991 to 1995. During that time, we didn't have running water. Basically in Manila, water runs by your house about 30 minutes every day from about 6 p.m. to 6:30. And of course, you want to have the highest horsepower pump in the neighborhood on the street so that you can pump that water into a tank that's in your yard. As a result of that, water is very expensive in the Philippines, very expensive. In India, in Pakistan, all these places, water is very expensive. And Filipino consumers love clean clothes, and they wash their clothes by hand. So what you'd see is people over a tub washing their clothes, and basically they would judge the cleanliness of their clothes by how many suds they created, because suds said that the solution was getting their clothes clean. And the average Filipino would take 5 buckets of water to get the suds out of their clothes after they clean them. So they clean them and take 5 buckets of water to get the suds out. So we saw that, and we decided, let's invent a product to help. So we took a product, we called it Downy, but it's not like the Downy you have here in the United States. But we add a little fragrance, which Downy does. We add a little bit of softness, which Downy does. But then we also added some cationic surfactant, which would sequester the suds, tie up the suds, and then allow them to be rinsed away with 1 bucket of water. So we saved 4 buckets of water. So you can imagine the advertising campaign for this product. You know, get a little bit of softness, get a little bit of fragrance, and by the way, the product more than pays for itself because you're not using 4 buckets of water. So designing that product specifically for the person at the bottom of the economic pyramid to fit their needs is what's required. And that was a story that Graham Sims told in the story of Gillette Guard. Thanks for the question. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Kevin from
Hi,
the
Kevin.
Wisconsin School of Business. I have another leadership question. I'm interested in kind of the progression of leadership philosophy that you had leaving the military, and then how that's grown and what the differences are.
I told you I've kept this list of 10, and I only go as high as 10 for 25 years. And every time I get a new insight that results in a new belief, I take one off. So I keep it at 10. And I would say the biggest changes that have occurred over those 25 years is as I've moved and lived in different geographies, that's affected some of my beliefs. For example, one of the things I believe that informs a lot of what I do is it's really important to learn the language and the culture of the place you are. It's particularly important in our business because we're trying to improve consumers' lives. We have to understand why their culture is the way it is, why they live the way it does. And oftentimes, as I moved around the world and lived in different places, it's very different when you're in business versus the military. When you're in the military, you're on a base, you have a PX, you have a bowling alley, whatever. And the Army, the Air Force, the Navy does a great job in trying to make you feel like you're really in the United States, even though you're in Japan. Well, business isn't like that. If anything, business is you should live in the community so you learn about the people you're trying to serve. So my 6 years in Japan, I learned to speak Japanese. I took Japanese lessons 6 days a week, about an hour and 20 minutes every day, and I'm still not fluent. But one of the things I learned is that languages represent cultures. So imagine if I assigned you today to run the skincare business in Japan, and you would say to me, well, why is language important? I'd say, well, you got to know the culture if you're going to be successful. Well, there's a word in Japanese. Nihongo hanashite imasu ka? Doko. Omoshiroi. Interesting. Exactly. See, we have somebody who speaks Japanese. This word interesting, this is it. I'm sure you could have read this, right? Yeah. Anata no nihongo ga yokunai desu. This word, omoshiroi, is 2 characters, 2 Chinese characters. The left one, omo, means face. The right one, shiroi, means white. But the word, which are those 2 characters together, means interesting. So, in fact, if I said to my Japanese friends, did you realize that the word interesting is white face? They would say, no, I never realized that, because they never see the characters separately. They always think of them together. But if you're in China or in other parts, or you see each character individually, it's white face. So why is the word interesting white face? Anybody know? There's no right answer, by the way. Well, I don't know either, okay? But geishas paint their face white, right? Everybody know about that? Geishas paint their face white? Why do geishas paint their face white? White skin's, okay. Purity, that's a good point. White skin's a symbol of beauty. Okay, why is white skin a symbol of beauty or purity? I don't know. Nobody knows, but here's what I believe. Asia, civilizations developed around rice paddies. Those who worked in the rice paddy got dark skin. The shogun or emperor who was in the castle had light skin. So light skin in Japan became a symbol of beauty, wealth, position. Why is that important? What's the number one selling skincare product in Asia? Skin whitening. Part of the culture. You got to know the culture. If you know the culture, if you know the language, if you know the culture, it'll help you in business. Now, isn't this strange? What's a trendy product in Western Europe or North America? Skin darkening. Why is that? Well, I don't know again, but I grew up in Gary, Indiana. I was a kid, and my parents didn't have much money. And when it came holiday time, you'd come back to school, and the teacher would ask this, I thought, rather rude question, write an essay on where you went on vacation. I never went on vacation, but those kids who had gone to Florida had dark skin because they were outside at the pool. So again, dark skin became a symbol of health or wealth. But this is why knowing the culture and knowing the language in our business is so critically important. And you generally have to ask the question why several times. You mentioned purity, which is very insightful. In Japanese, the word for beautiful is kirei. The word for clean is kirei. It's the same word. They do not differentiate between beauty and cleanliness. Part of that, I think, comes from the Shinto religion, which is all about purity. So again, languages and cultures are very interesting. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Good morning. Luke Goodrich from the University of Washington. First of all, thank you for your time.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
As a leader, with your experience in a company that puts so much emphasis on innovation, what have you found is your number one most effective tool in your toolkit for fostering a mindset of innovation in your people?
Me personally?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'll tell you a story because I think that when I first joined the Procter & Gamble, I had an MBA, and one of the first people I met said, you can leave your textbooks at home. We're going to teach you everything you need. And I remember in my first few weeks, in my first few months, in my first few years, thinking everybody I met was so much smarter than me. I was thinking I was hopeless, and I did okay at West Point, but I was thinking in my MBA program, but I was thinking, I'm hopeless. These people are so much smarter than I am. Well, today, 32 years later, I oftentimes will hear people who leave my office after a meeting and say, wow, is he smart, and saying the things that I might have said 32 years ago. And I think the difference is, I've lived and worked in 6 different countries. Actually, I've worked in every country of the world. I've lived in 6 different countries. I've worked in every product category we're in. Experience does make a difference. It really, really does. And so I think the challenge for all of you as you join your new careers, as you join your new companies, is how can you incubate that experience? How can you get experiences faster than you would naturally get them? I mean, it's one of the things we talk about as a leadership group at Procter & Gamble is how do we make sure we give people experiences that grow them as quickly as we can grow them? It doesn't always mean moving from country to country, but it might mean moving from one function to another, one brand group to another, one retailer to another, but looking at those experiences as growthful experiences so that eventually you can get so many experiences that you have the business intelligence you need to succeed in that company. So think about that. Don't just think about the level or the position or the promotion, but think about experiences. Because I have to tell you, two of my most growthful experiences were the 4 years I spent in the Philippines and the 6 years I spent in Japan. And during those 6 years in Japan, I could have said, oh my gosh, I need to get promoted, I want to get promoted. But I learned so much during those 6 years that it accelerated my progress afterward. So, experiences. Other questions, comments? Great, well thank you very much. You've been a great audience. I enjoyed being with you. Good luck to all of you. Best wishes, and thank you for your service.